Between the show ring and the snack stand, a quiet argument started to grow. It was about Princess Charlotte, the 9-year-old daughter of Prince William and the granddaughter of Camilla named Lola Parker. Despite her age, Charlotte carries herself with a maturity well beyond her years. Many say she has inherited her mother's grace and her father's quiet strength. And sometimes, when she looks at you, there's a striking resemblance to Princess Diana, thoughtful and poised with eyes that seem to see everything. That day, Charlotte wasn't acting like a royal, she was acting like any other kid excited to see ponies. She walked with quiet confidence, her hair pulled back into a neat ponytail, and her eyes had that familiar curious sparkle. As soon as that small but powerful thing happened, the mood changed, and nothing at that horse show felt the same again. Stay with us because what happened next will shock you. It started with a comment. Not yelling, just a few words spoken quietly but sharply enough to hurt, made by Camilla's granddaughter Lola Parker, who was sitting close to Princess Charlotte. Lola wasn't a royal by title, but because of Camilla, she had always been around. People had seen her at family events, sometimes walking next to Camilla, and sometimes sitting in the background at public celebrations. She was a part of things, but not quite in the same way as everyone else. She felt like she was family, but she wasn't part of the inner royal circle. She and Charlotte were close in age, but they had never been especially close. They smiled for cameras when they had to and Charlotte had just taken a sip from her juice box when she noticed Lola looking at her as if she wanted some. Because Charlotte was raised to be polite, share, and be thoughtful, she turned and asked, "Do you want some?" Lola quickly replied, "Sure, I'll need it later." Charlotte handed Lola the juice box with a light smile, saying, "Just don't finish it. We're going to be here a long time, and I'll need it later." Charlotte wasn't being rude or mean, she was just being practical and trying to be fair. She turned her attention back to the ponies in the ring and cheered when one of the riders cleared a jump. When she turned her attention back to Charlotte, she saw that Lola had finished the juice box. Charlotte was shocked and asked, "Wait, did you finish it?" Charlotte frowned and said, "But I told you not to." "Why would you do that?" Lola didn't answer right away. She looked at Charlotte for a while and then turned her head and said, "You act like you're in charge of everything, like you're the queen already, just like your mom." She looked shocked and asked, "What do you mean? And she's not even queen?" she asked. "My grandmother is your mom's, just acting like everyone sees it," Lola said, her voice still calm and quiet. Charlotte stood there frozen, holding the empty juice box, but Lola wasn't done. "You're not special, one day they'll just marry you off, and that'll be it, you'll never be someone's wife again." There was no yelling or a big scene, just cold, sharp words said low enough not to draw attention. Attention but heavy enough to sting. It wasn't just a comment, it was personal, delivered not like a joke or playful tease but like a truth Lola had been waiting to say. Charlotte didn't cry right away, she stood there for a second frozen, then her face dropped and her eyes filled with tears. She didn't speak, she just walked quickly over to Kate and grabbed her hand, holding on like she didn't want to let go. Kate knelt down and wrapped her arms around her, calm but firm. She didn't ask questions because she did not want to give news outlets things to talk about, but people nearby said her face turned serious, her whole body went still, and the look in her eyes said more than words ever could. Kate didn't yell, she didn't make a scene, but her presence became solid, almost like a wall. One look at her and you knew something had shifted. William had been talking to King Charles just a few feet away when he noticed. As soon as he saw Charlotte's face he stopped. No more small talk, no more smiles. He walked over. As he walked away with Charlotte's hand in his, he looked at the girl who had said what she had said and then at the adults nearby. He didn't say anything, and he didn't need to. But after that, something was different. The mood at the horse show changed, you could tell, because people spoke less and avoided eye contact. It wasn't dramatic, but it was clear that a cloud had moved in. But just a week later, when everyone had forgotten about what happened, Prince William did something on Twitter that shocked a lot of people. He didn't tag anyone, just wrote, "My family will always come first. Anyone who thinks they can harm my daughter and stay close to us mistake." There was no palace seal or official photo, just a father making it clear that the line had been crossed and it would not go unanswered. This statement caused a lot of debate among royal watchers. Many were surprised that William would say something like that about someone who was seen as family. People started to look into why he would make such a bold statement and found that this wasn't the first time that Prince William's family had been treated badly. In fact, the criticism toward Prince William's family had been building for a while, starting with small comments and then quiet gossip, things that didn't seem important at first but slowly started to hurt, and lately, most of it has been directed at Kate Middleton. People often say that Kate Middleton is too perfect. They say she smiles too much, dresses too neatly, and acts like she is. People kept criticizing her, saying she was too busy trying to be royal, and some even said she was boring. The rumors changed every week. One week it was that she didn't get along with Meghan, the next week it was that she was cold, distant, or too private, even though Kate rarely responded and always looked calm in public. The criticism didn't stop, but the worst was when the old bikini photos came out. They were of Kate and Pippa on vacation, just the two sisters trying to relax. The photos were taken with a long lens without their knowledge, and were published all over the world as if they were normal. William was furious at the time, but there wasn't much he could do. The damage was already done. Later, people started judging her as a mom, saying she was too strict with her kids and didn't let them have screen time. One article said the kids didn't have real friends, and another said Kate kept them too sheltered. Many people thought it was weird to want to protect your children, and now the criticism has reached his daughter, a 9-year-old girl in riding boots holding a juice box while watching a horse show. Someone close to the family had looked her in the eye and tried to make her feel small, but not this time. That night, William didn't sleep. He stayed in his office at Kensington Palace with only his closest assistants. He didn't yell or pace. He read security briefings and staff notes. He then asked one of the guards what had been done about Lola, and the guard replied, "Nothing so far." Those words made him so mad that he decided right then and there that Lola Parker would no longer be allowed at royal events. She would no longer be able to get private access, passes to family areas, or quiet exceptions. She would no longer get any of the special treatment she had been getting. There was no discussion or announcement. William's words spoke for themselves when Lola's name didn't. When she wasn't seen with Camilla at a charity event a few days later, reporters noticed. What surprised people wasn't just the decision, but also how final it felt. This wasn't about drama or politics, it was personal. The real issue wasn't one mean comment at a horse show, it was the idea that being close to the crown gave you the power to hurt people, that you could have the perks without the discipline, that you could hurt a child and still smile next to the throne. William made it clear that that time was over, no matter who you are. At first, the palace kept quiet, but word spread quickly. Royal reporters started talking, and soon the leaks began. The so-called horseshoe incident took on a life of its own when a source close to the palace confirmed that Lola had been taken off the guest list for future events. People who normally don't pay attention to royal news started to pay attention right away. Hashtags like #ShakaTeamCharlotte and #KeepItRoyal went viral, with people saying things like, "She's 9, you don't come for a child, he did what any father should do, she's not royal, and why was she even that close to the family to begin with?" This was the first time someone actually drew a line in the sand in that family. Even royal traditionalists, people who usually avoided social media arguments, spoke out for a deeper reason: respect for a daughter who didn't deserve the cruelty, for a wife who had stood by and been picked apart year after year, and for a man who had finally said enough. Not everyone agreed, though. William thought he went too far. He wrote, "One rude moment and she gets banned from everything a quiet word would have done." It seems like William just wanted to show who's boss, according to some. Some people questioned the tweet itself, saying, "It feels like PR to me. We didn't hear Charlotte's side or the other girls." One post said, "It's starting to look like William and Kate want to be the only ones seen as good parents in that whole family." Someone else just said, "Kids fight, royal or not." Many people kept their attention on the bigger picture. A young girl was made to feel small in front of strangers, and someone finally stood up for her. That part, they weren't arguing about. But now for the shocking part. A source inside the Clarence house says that Camilla didn't take the news well when she heard that her granddaughter was banned from royal events. She lost her temper. She walked around her room, slammed doors, and kept repeating the same thing. They've crossed a line to her. It wasn't just about a child making a mistake, it was about her family, about everything she had worked for over the past 20 years. She said it was personal, a betrayal not just from William but from the whole royal system she had tried so hard to be part of. She went straight to King Charles, told him the punishment was too much, said it was unfair too emotional and needed to be reversed, but Charles barely looked up from his paper. It's been handled, he said quietly, and that was it for Camilla. That response hit hard. After all the years she had spent cleaning up her public image, smiling at garden parties, showing up at events, doing her part, she felt like it was all erased in one move, and the fact that it came from William, her own stepson, made it worse. But deep down it wasn't just about Lola, it was about something bigger, something older. It was about blood, and it was made clear to her that no matter how close she was to the throne, her family would always be seen as outsiders, so she became angry at Kate. She told close friends that Kate had played her part too well and taken full advantage of the situation. Kate wasn't believed. She was overheard saying that she knows what she's doing and always has smiles in public and knives in private. But not many people believed her. Kate hadn't said a word to the press. She didn't leak anything, she didn't post anything online or respond to the rumors. The next morning, she went back to work by visiting a children's hospital without making any comments or interviews. That quiet response said more than any words could have. Camilla wasn't ready to let it go inside the palace. She started pushing. She held private meetings and talked to senior staff in hopes of finding someone who would take her side. She kept bringing it up with Charles at dinner, on walks, and even through hints from her staff, but all she got in return was a polite smile and a vague phrase. The power she once had, in the form of a soft influence and quiet backing, was suddenly gone. No one was rushing to fix things or offer solutions. Instead, they were stepping back. At one point, Camilla even said she might step down from her public duties because she wasn't feeling well. Her team wrote a few soft press notes to test the waters with friendly reporters, but the public didn't want to hear about a queen consort being upset about her granddaughter losing royal privileges, because the image of Charlotte crying into her mother's arms was still fresh in everyone's minds. The mood had changed, and this time it wasn't Camilla who was on the receiving end of it. Even Charles, who kept his mouth shut and stayed out of it for the first time in years, felt it. Camilla realized that no matter how close she tried to get to the heart of the monarchy, she wasn't really in it, not when it came to decisions like this, not when it came to William, and especially not when it came to Kate. But Camilla didn't stop at the palace. What she started as quiet anger soon made its way into the press. Over the next few weeks, little stories started showing up in places like the Daily Mail, the Telegraph, and even Hello magazine. Some hinted at a family rift, while others painted Lola as a sweet girl caught up in drama she didn't cause. At first, the tone was gentle, but it started to change. William stayed quiet because he thought that if he didn't react, everything would be fine, but the pressure kept building inside the palace. Advisors making calls trying to get Lola's access back to her. This wasn't just about a child, it was about pride, respect, and her place in the royal family. The longer it dragged on, the more it felt like a battle, and finally William decided enough was enough. According to two senior aides, the breaking point came during a routine meeting about the king's health. The situation, while still private, had become harder to ignore. Charles wasn't bouncing back the way he once might have. Treatments were ongoing. Energy came and went, and for William the future, the weight of what was coming, had never felt closer. He told close aides that when his time came, Camilla would have no role in the future of the monarchy, not in official titles, not in public image, not in family history. She replaced my mother once, he said quietly, but she won't replace her in memory. The words landed like thunder in the quiet office. He didn't need to explain. Everyone knew what he meant, but that wasn't all. A few days later, he sat down with his kids as a father who had reached his limit, not as a prince or even a future king. He spoke to them gently, clearly, and honestly, in a way that only grief can make possible. He told them the truth. Camilla wasn't their grandmother anymore because she doesn't act like one. He reportedly told them, she doesn't deserve the name. He told George, Charlotte, and Louis, you already have a grandmother. Her name is Diana. And with that, not only did something change in the family, but also in the institution itself. It wasn't about small titles or old grudges anymore, it was about legacy memory boundaries that had been blurred for too long in private. Aides called it the invisible removal, a quiet rewriting of Camilla's place in the royal story. She would remain queen consort by title, but in William's, she would be missing from the symbols that mattered, no portraits next to Diana's, no mention of her in the lessons. For William, this wasn't about getting back at someone, he was just protecting his family. He wasn't asking for permission or approval, he was just drawing the line so that no one would ever attack his family again. For William, this wasn't about getting back at someone, it was about making things right for his mother, his daughter, and the future crown. He didn't make a fuss or try to get attention, he just did it. The message was clear, legacy matters, and so does respect. Camilla may still hold a title, but in William's vision for the monarchy, her chapter is already coming to an end. What comes next will be quieter, more focused, and deeply personal, and history will remember who stood firm and who didn't belong in the story at all. What do you think about Prince William's brave decision? Was he right to draw the line? Have you seen this and thought it went too far? Could it really change the future of the royal family? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the video that